what's happening in Africa, because there seems to be issues already in the border. And I was looking at your Twitter timeline, and there seems to be severe issues with trade already, given the closure of borders. Could you tell us a little bit what the situation looks like today, Monday, the 4th of May?
Well, sure. I mean, I think it's also very important to mention that West and Central Africa, its own identity is based on border trade and on interaction across countries and borders. Border communities are living out of, you know, all the economy happening around borders. And so, of course, the measures and preventive measures taken by governments across the world, but in West and Central Africa, has had huge socioeconomic impact in countries and at borders. So, of course, a border trade has stopped, and we see that some border posts are still open to allow for the transit of some goods, which are sold at skyrocketing prices for communities that don't have the means to actually pay for you know, for their food. You have also people stranded at borders. We are talking about thousands and thousands of people who are currently waiting for borders to reopen. They have no access to health care. They have no means, no money to provide for their own, you know, food and pay for a room. So these people are currently in dire need of assistance.
And how is the United Nations, the International Organization for Migration, supporting the people? What kind of are you developing? Are you working in partnership, I imagine, with other UN agencies too?
So obviously, it's quite important to stress the fact that these preventive measures, such as the border closures, have also an impact on aid delivery. Obviously, you know, we cannot cross borders neither. We do not have access to maybe all the kits and all the packages that we can provide usually to people in need. So we've been negotiating a lot together with all your other UN agencies for the opening of humanitarian corridors. This is our priority, aid delivery, because without that, we cannot provide assistance to those who really need it. So this was the first step. Of course, then we need to also make sure that, you know, borders are going to reopen as fast as possible, though we don't want the COVID and the virus to spread further. So we are training at IOM, we are training border officials and agents in different countries across the region so they can actually increase border surveillance and allow bit by bit so it allows people to actually start crossing borders more you know, more regularly. For the moment, we have trucks who are waiting for days and days, and they're maybe even also, you know, carrying maybe the virus also. So we want to make sure that these people are tested, and if they're confirmed positive, they are put in quarantine. So this costs a lot of money, takes a lot of facilities as well, because we need to ensure physical distancing, and we are working together with other UN agencies and NGOs and governments across the region to make sure that the borders reopen as soon as possible, because this is vital for hundreds of thousands of people in the region.
And tell me a little bit about the challenges there are for people who sometimes they don't have a place to go to quarantine. How are you going to work with them? Because also walk us a little bit through how different the International Migration Organization is from the Refugees Agency from the UN, because you work with people that are internally displaced, right?
We work with, you know, like there are over 5 million internally displaced people in West and Central Africa. We have over 20,000 migrants who are currently stranded across West Africa, who are coming as well from maybe North Africa, from Libya, Algeria, Morocco, and they are currently, you know, stranded in Niger or Mali or Chad. So what we are trying to do is, of course, rent more facilities, because we need to ensure this quarantine, because imagine an outbreak within a transit center or within an IDP camp would be a total disaster. It would be a disaster because these people, especially for these internally displaced people, have already fled conflicts, have already fled disasters, are usually hosted in, within communities who already fight daily to meet, their needs. So if there is an outbreak in these communities, it's going to be a huge catastrophe. So right now we need to focus on that. We need to make sure that all preventive measures are actually taking place.
Yes, thank you very much. Good luck with your efforts. And thank you again, Florence Kim from the International Migration Organization in West Africa.